All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the TD Drives podcast. I am your host, Case Kajani. I'm just a guy who loves talking about the NFL, and I'm your insight into everything going on in the NFL. And wow, what a week 3 after really breaking down a shocking week 2. There was some even more shocking results in week number 3. But before we get to all of that, we're going to get to the big injuries, preview some games for week 4 that I have my eyes on. Just want to thank everybody for, liking and subscribing, watching my first episode. Want to thank my guest again, Aaron Jackson, for coming on. Hopefully, we'll have him on more in the future. Please continue to like and subscribe and follow me on YouTube. Please follow my social media handles at ka.is717 on Instagram to just let me know that you like the show, that you're enjoying the show, feedback on the show. Everything helps, and I truly, truly appreciate all the support. Now, let's get into the reason we're all here. We're going to go through every single game from week number 3. We're going to try and keep it to at least a minute and a half per games because there's a lot of games to get to, and we don't want to take up an hour and a half like we did last time. So let's start with Thursday night football. Patriots taking on the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers goes for 280 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He looks like the Aaron Rodgers of old that we saw before he tore his Achilles. 27 of 35, 281 and 2 touchdowns. Allen Lazard caught a 60-yard beauty from Aaron Rodgers. Garrett Wilson got his first touchdown with Aaron Rodgers. He looked like the former league MVP from 3 years ago. He looked like a guy who's on a mission. The Jets are 2-1. Just a great game from Aaron, great game from this Jets defense who limited the Patriots to less than 100 yards of net offense. Jacoby Brissett managed less than 60 passing yards. He was yanked early. Drake May only came in threw for 28 yards. Didn't really do much in his limited playing time. The O-line for the Patriots is very bad. We all know this. The Jets' offensive lines, the run game for the Patriots is not sufficient enough to make up for it, and the defense was out there far too long, and it's a very young, not very, how shall I say, stacked pass defense in New England. So they're in a rebuild. They know this. They're not going to put Drake May out in this situation just yet, although many Patriots fans would like to see Drake May back out at center for the Patriots just to see what he can do. When you see a lot of these younger quarterbacks, these first round picks that are going out there getting the pro experience and getting wins, you want your guy Drake May out there. But it's a rebuilding year for the Pats, and you just kind of got to take the loss. You just kind of got to take the losses now to build it back up again, because getting back to the level they were, it's going to take a lot of work. Next up, we'll get to the start with the 10 o'clock games. The New York Giants grabbed their first win of the season behind the most efficient play of Daniel Jones we have seen in quite a while. 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, both of them to wide receiver standout Malik Nabers, who looks like the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. This was the best game for the Giants they could have hoped for, both offensively and defensively. They held Cleveland to just 15 points. Deshaun Watson did have 2 touchdowns, but he was godly inefficient. Amari Cooper did catch 2 touchdowns, but was held to less than 100 yards receiving. Jerry Jeudy didn't do much. The run game was pretty much shut down. And then Watson did throw 2 picks in that game that resulted in the Giants jumping out to an early lead that they would not relinquish. Just tough days ahead for the Browns. It really looks like Deshaun Watson has lost a step in his career. He doesn't look like the same quarterback he did when he was with the Texans in 2019, 2020, when he was leading the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. But for the Giants, a terrific game from Daniel Jones. We hope that his efficient play continues. He got great protection. And, of course, the young standout Malik Nabers. This kid's something special. Well, he looks like one of those Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb type guys who's gonna go out there and catch everything that's thrown his way. He's gonna make the highlight. He's gonna make all the highlight plays, and this kid looks like a staple in New York for many, many years to come. Let's get to probably one of the biggest shockers of the weekend. The New Orleans Saints at home losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. Their offense put up a combined 98 points in the first two, 91 points in the first two games, put up just 12 in week number 3. Saquon Barkley, a 65-yard touchdown late in the fourth quarter to give the Eagles their first lead, and then the go-ahead 28-yard touchdown at the end of the game to give the Eagles the lead for good. The first thing, I watched a good bit of that Eagles Saints game. The first thing I'll notice about the Eagles is they were applying a lot of pressure to Derek Carr and showed a lot of teams the way that you can slow down the Saints red hot offense. If you shut down the run game, Alvin Kamara held to less than 100 rushing, or it's held to less than 100, held to just 100 scrimmage yards overall. If you shut down that run game and you put Carr under pressure, guys like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Brandon Graham, they were applying a lot of pressure to Derek Carr, and it threw him off. His big play threat, Rashid Shaheed, no 5 targets, no catches, no big plays for him. Chris Olave did catch all 6 of his balls for 81 yards. His hot streak continues, but the Saints offense was slowed, and despite a great performance by their defense, holding Jalen Hurts to just 1 touchdown, holding Jalen Hurts to no touchdowns, they picked him off, they forced a fumble. It just wasn't enough when you're giving up huge plays to Dallas Goedert, over 170 receiving yards on 10 targets, and of course, the linchpin of it all, Saquon Barkley, 2 touchdowns, and then the game-sealing pick on Derek Carr by Reed Blankenship to end the game. Great performance from the Eagles. They're making that NFC East look pretty locked up right now with the way some notable teams are playing. But let's get to another big shocker. The Minnesota Vikings absolutely run over the Houston Texans 34-7 to remain unbeaten on the season. Sam Darnold, 4 touchdowns in the game. What I'll say is he has got to be a favorite for comeback player of the year. This guy was left for dead in Carolina and New York, but put him in a situation where he has good receiving talent around him, a good defense, and a great play caller in Kevin O'Connell. He's going to thrive. He was slicing and dicing all over a very good and underrated Houston secondary. For CJ Stroud, tough day for him. He didn't have Joe Mixon, who was out with an ankle injury. He's likely out again this week. Tank Dell, his stud receiver, got banged up. But facing the Minnesota defense and Brian Flores, I told you last week, he knows how to scheme up some defense. He definitely does know how to scheme up some defense. He was making CJ Stroud's life a living nightmare. 2 interceptions in the game. He did not look comfortable at all against the Minnesota secondary. Multiple takeaways in all 3 games for the Minnesota Vikings. They're 3-0 for the first time since 2016. They got a huge one against the Green Bay Packers this weekend. That's going to be a great game to watch. But a great performance by the Vikings, and with the way the AFC South is, I don't think the Texans really have to worry about anything. But a little bit concerning that when they go up against some of these top teams, that the offense doesn't really look all that right against defenses that can easily scheme them out of games. But a great performance by the Vikings. Let's see if they can keep up this hot play. Now, let's get to another shocker. The Denver Broncos in Tampa Bay against the unbeaten Buccaneers storm into Tampa, and they defeat them 26-7. Bo Nix, 260 passing yards, 6 yards an attempt, but Denver got to Baker Mayfield bad. 7 sacks for that defense. Bo Nix ran for a touchdown, so did running back Jaleel McLaughlin. Baker Mayfield, he needs a big bounce back in a big way. The offensive line was banged up. starting tackle Tristan Wirfs was out, so Justin Skule gave up 2 sacks, but they got to protect Baker Mayfield better because we all know if Baker Mayfield is under pressure, he does not play well. A great game from the Denver Broncos defense. And Nix, for all of his struggles, he made some big throws in that game. Made smart decisions, didn't turn the ball over. He's starting to learn better and better, but a tough loss for Tampa. They were looking so good right now. And now you have a situation where Tampa's 1-2. Tampa's 2-1, excuse me. The Saints are 2-1. Atlanta's 1-2. And now you have the Carolina Panthers also picking up their first victory. We'll get to them in just a little bit. But this NFC South race just got a little bit more interesting with the way the Saints got easily schemed, and B, a lot of these other teams showing that they can compete with them. So it's going to be a fun race, but a great win for Denver. Are they going to compete with the Chiefs? Probably not, but a great win for Denver, and good to see Bo Nix get his first victory of his NFL career. We'll go now to Tennessee, where the Packers run all over the Tennessee Titans, 30-14. Not really much to say out of this game other than Malik Willis winning in Tennessee after getting ousted by the Titans, after getting traded by the Titans earlier this month. Great game for the Packers defense. They forced 2 interceptions on Will Levis. He's the turnover. Tennessee leads the league in turnovers. Will Levis is not making smart decisions with the football. Shout out Jair Alexander for a pick 6. They ran all over Tennessee. Emmanuel Wilson, the rookie, grabbing his first NFL touchdown. Congrats to him. A great performance all the way around for the Packers. And again, they have a huge one next week in Minnesota, home against Minnesota. That is going to be a great football game. Great football game. But not much to say about the Titans. They're a bottom feeder team, and they're probably going to be competing right up there with some of the worst in the NFL. Let's move on to Indianapolis. The Bears lose again to the Indianapolis Colts. This despite Caleb Williams going for 360 yards, 2 TDs, but he got picked off twice. There's no run game in Chicago because DeAndre Swift once again struggled. And Jonathan Taylor, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm sad that I benched him in fantasy because I did not think he was going to run all over the Bears defense, and he did. Some inconsistent play with Anthony Richardson, some good moments, some bad moments, some bad decision making. But when you have Jonathan Taylor, when you have a defense that's picking off Caleb Williams twice and not allowing Rome with some inconsistent play from the Tampa Bay wide receivers like Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen still out, DJ Moore not playing up to his standards, you get a day where the Colts get the win. And we hope that Anthony Richardson can build on this moving forward. That's their first victory of the season. Are they going to probably compete with the Texans? Probably not, because they already lost once to Houston, but they gave him a good fight, and Anthony Richardson had his moments. He's coming off shoulder surgery, so let's give him time. But a great performance from the Colts and a great performance by Jonathan Taylor, reminding the rest of the league that he is still a top-tier running back. But a great day for the Colts. Let's go on to the unbeaten Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin, 3-0 for the first time since a guy named Ben Roethlisberger was at quarterback for the Steelers. They take down the Chargers 20-10. Big story coming out of that game. Justin Herbert, star quarterback, re-aggravating the ankle sprain he suffered in the victory in Carolina. He is questionable for this Sunday's game against the unbeaten Chiefs. But as soon as Justin Herbert went out of that game, it was over. But a great day for Justin Fields. Once again, not a lot of gaudy passing numbers, no rushing touchdowns for him, but smart decisions with the football, not turning the ball over, and making all the right plays. And of course, when you have that defense led by TJ Watt, once again making life miserable for everybody that he plays, that plays against him. Of course, they have greater concern for that O-line now. First round first round standout tackle Joe Alt leaving that game. He is out with a torn pectoral. Rashawn Slater, starting center, left that game with an ankle injury. He is out for a while. He is going to be out for a while. Not good news for the Chargers, especially when you're going to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. You probably want all your best players out there, particularly Herbert, but a great day for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are really looking good through the early part of the year. Let's see him do it against some not mid-feeder competition and teams that are still working through some kinks, but a great start for the Steelers. Mike Tomlin, once again, is doing it. Speaking of another unbeaten team, let's go to Seattle, where the Seahawks run all over the Tua-less Miami Dolphins 24-3. They made Skylar Thompson's life miserable. He left that game with an injury. He did not return. He is questionable he is probably likely out this Sunday with a rib injury. But Seattle, that defense is looking fantastic. DK Metcalf, another 70-yard bomb. Jackson Smith-Njigba taking the place of Tyler Lockett as the number 2 guy in Seattle. The defense looks fantastic, albeit against teams that don't really have great quarterback play. They played the Patriots. Of course, they played the Giants and then the Dolphins. So it's not like you're playing the most elite competition in the world, but a great start for the Seattle Seahawks. They are really looking good, but they have a big time Monday Night Football game against the Detroit Lions in Detroit. This next game upcoming is really going to be the test to see if Seattle is the team, is that 3-0 start for real, or was it just a competition? We're about to find out. It's going to be a great game up in Detroit on Monday, but a great performance from Seattle. The only thing I'll say about Miami is you better hope Tua gets healthy soon, because you're already 1-2, and without Tua, the offense is so much different. You don't get the big plays from Waddle. You don't get the big plays from Hill. Raheem Mostert still out. Devon Achane was held and had some runs, but it really didn't matter when you don't have a passing offense. The defense didn't slow down anybody, particularly against the pass, of course, with DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith-Njigba. But Miami better be hoping Tua could come back soon, because if he doesn't, their season's likely going to be over pretty quickly. Let's get to another shocker. The Carolina Panthers, fresh off a 26-3 loss to the Chargers, benching Bryce Young for Andy Dalton. My goodness, did that work out well. 363 yards, 3 touchdowns for Andy Dalton. The Panthers scored more points in the first half of that game against the Raiders than they did in the first 2 games combined. A humiliating loss for the Raiders. They lose 36-22 at home to the Panthers. I feel for Raider fans. You know, you barely have a run game with Zamir White. You don't really have much of a passing game with Gardner Minshew. Aiden O'Connell stepped in late in the fourth quarter, got a garbage time TD that really didn't matter. But the defense was torched. Chuba Hubbard ran all over him. You got great games from guys like Adam Thielen and Xavier Legette, but a humiliating day for the Raiders. I spent last week praising you for your win in Baltimore against the Ravens. And then you go out and you do a performance like this. It's basically you Raiders it up. And it's humiliating for Raiders fans. I feel for them. Hopefully there are better times ahead for the Raiders. And hopefully for the Panthers that this continues, because they looked really good, especially Andy Dalton. Shout out Red Rocket. He was amazing on Sunday. Speaking of humiliating losses, let's go to LA, where the 49ers blow a 10-point fourth quarter lead and lose to the LA Rams off a game-winning field goal with 2 seconds to go. This despite a heroic day from wide receiver Juwan Jennings, 10 catches for 176 yards and 3 touchdowns. Brock Purdy slicing and dicing it up, 22 of 30, 238, 3 touchdowns, no picks. But 2 things were wrong, but 2 things happened in that game. 6 of Brock Purdy's 8 incompletions were drop passes, including a crucial one to Ronnie Bell late in the fourth quarter that would have set the Niners up for a game-winning field goal. And then that defense Particularly the secondary gave up big play after big play after big play to Matthew Stafford, a 50-yard bomb to Tutu Atwell, a special teams blunder that set the Rams up in the 50-yard line for the game-winning field goal. 20-yard strike, big game from Kyren Williams, 3 touchdowns, under 4 yards to carry those, so that is the bull. But the 49ers just losing the supposedly unlosable games. The Rams came back from a 10-point fourth quarter deficit for the first time since 2012. And you get even worse news that star defensive tackle Javon Hargrave out for the year with a torn triceps muscle. CMC going to Germany to see a specialist for his Achilles. Brock Purdy day-to-day with back soreness. George Kittle with a hamstring. Deebo Samuel with a calf. It's just bad to worse for the Niners. You hope that they can bounce back next week on Sunday against the Patriots. It looks like a get-right game, but this was supposed to be the get-right game in LA, and you blow that game that you probably shouldn't be blowing. So, it makes me so frustrated. I can't wait to have Aaron back on next week. Hopefully next week so we can talk about that humiliating loss for the Niners. Just makes me so frustrated as a fan, but hopefully better times are ahead and we can get some guys back and right the ship while the writing is good. Let's get to Detroit. The Detroit Lions going into Arizona and taking a win over the Cardinals 20-13. The Detroit run game was back at it again. Jared Goff is efficient as ever. The defense, though, really held Kyler Murray in check. Despite a beauty touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr., really didn't. The Detroit secondary made Kyler Murray's life tough. And that's all you can ask for with the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals' defense, to their credit, held the Lions to only 20 points. But if their offense is not going, it's like with the Saints on Sunday. The defense was great, but the offense just couldn't produce enough against a very good Detroit secondary. They did lose a couple offensive linemen in that game, which will hurt the run game for a significant period. All-pro offensive lineman Frank Ragnow out. He's going to be out for a little bit with a torn pec as well. This injury is said to not be season ending, but he is likely going to be sidelined for a good chunk of time. And unfortunately, if your offense isn't going to go out there and produce, and the defense can't do it all, can't force a bunch of turnovers. So a tough loss for the Cardinals, but a really great fight for them. I was really impressed watching them. And of course, let's get to the Cowboys. They put up their own humiliating performance, down 28-6 at home to the Baltimore Ravens. They staged a 19-point fourth quarter comeback to cut the deficit to 3 and ultimately lose at home to the Ravens 28-25 to drop back-to-back home games for the first time since 2020. My goodness, what is there to say about the Cowboys? It's the same old story. Can't stop the run. Derrick Henry ran all over them. Lamar didn't give Lamar much trouble. And no consistent options outside of CeeDee Lamb. It's the same old story with the Cowboys, and it's going to continue unless significant changes are made to both roster and organization. There's nothing more I have to say about the Cowboys, other than it's just the same old story. For Baltimore, Derrick Henry looking like every bit the king they signed him for. The defense was fantastic until the fourth quarter rally that was cut short. But a great game for the Cowboys. A great game for the Ravens. Let's see if they can keep it up. They're now 1-2, but they're in a tough division with the Steelers, the Browns, and Bengals. We'll get to the Bengals in just a second, but a tough win for the Ravens, a gritty win for the Ravens, and hopefully that builds some more momentum going forward. Now let's get to Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs stay unbeaten after an uncalled pass interference on a potential game-winning drive for the Atlanta Falcons. Chiefs win 22-17. They go to 3-0 again. Yes, they're great. We all love the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes had his worst passing game in quite a while. Travis Kelce, 5 catches for just 40 yards. He's been quiet once again. Once again was very quiet. But Rashee Rice, 7 catches for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. This kid is looking like the number 1 receiver in Kansas City, and that defense really stymied Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson held to under 100 scrimmage yards and held to only 40 rushing yards. If you can do that and slow down an Atlanta offense, that's just a recipe for success. And shout out to undrafted Chiefs rookie running back Carson Steele, 4.5 a carry, replacing the injured Isaiah Pacheco, who's going to be sidelined for a while. Great game from him, but Kirk Cousins had good moments. He had a great opening drive where he found Drake London for a 46-yard touchdown. But then he had his struggles. Of course, he is coming off the Achilles injury, so it's not fair to expect him to look great right away because he's still working his way back. But another tough loss for Atlanta. Of course, they are 1-2, but now with the Carolina Panthers winning, the Saints losing, and Tampa Bay losing, the division right now looks more wide open than it did the previous week. And for the Chiefs, it's just keep it going. Can that defense continue to make plays? And can Mahomes and Kelce get on the same page? Because Travis Kelce has not looked great to start the year. And if he does start to look great, the Chiefs are going to be right back where they were, winning a 3rd straight Super Bowl. And then we're going to all talk about Patrick Mahomes as the next GOAT. So shout out to the Chiefs. Now let's get to Monday Night Football. There was one great game, and then there was one game. We're going to start with the blah game, and that is the Buffalo Bills running all over the Jaguars, 47-10. 5 touchdowns on 5 drives in the first half. Josh Allen, four touchdowns in that first half, looking like the league MVP. Trevor Lawrence, 120 passing yards, didn't throw a TD, got picked off. He was horrible. Jaguars are a mess. They're dysfunctional. They showed no effort in this game at all. They were down 31-3 at halftime. It was over early. It was not fun to watch. But Josh Allen, this looks like, if this isn't Buffalo's year to beat the Chiefs, they're never beating the Chiefs again. Like, this guy was special. This is what, there was one particular play from Allen at the end of that first half where he found Ty Johnson streaking out of bounds for a touchdown right at the tail end of the half. It was a beauty throw by Allen. Great catch by Ty Johnson. But Jacksonville's a mess. There's so much to clean up with that team. They're already 0-3, and this season already looks lost for them. Speaking of teams that already look lost, the Washington Commanders going and get Jayden Daniels back-to-back victories. A career game for Jayden Daniels, 23 of 28, 263 yards, 3 TDs, no picks, despite a great game from Joe Burrow, 3 touchdowns, Ja'Marr Chase, 2 receiving touchdowns, 140 receiving yards, but the defense gave up 38 to the Washington Commanders. My takeaways, Jayden Daniels looks like a franchise quarterback, and Commanders fans are looking real happy right now. Jayden Daniels had some beauty throws in that game. A bomb to Terry McLaurin was a pinpoint laser in that game. My goodness, that was a beautiful throw. And then the game-sealing touchdown. Oh my goodness, what a throw by Jayden Daniels, and a great adjustment by McLaurin. But Joe Burrow had his best game of the year, 320 yards, 3 TDs. Ja'Marr Chase looked great, but the defense couldn't stop anyone, and they're 0-3 for the first time since 2019, the year before they drafted a guy named Joe Burrow. It looks really bad. The defense especially looks really, 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 really rough. And they lost starting offensive tackle Trent Brown for the entire year. He tore his ACL in that game. He is likely done for the year. He's done for the year. So bad to worse for the Cincinnati Bengals, and we'll see where they go from here. Now, let's get to some injury news. As I mentioned, for the 49ers, star defensive tackle Javon Hargrave tore his tricep muscles in that game against in the loss against the Rams. He is now done for the season. You have Brock Purdy day to day. He suffered a back injury. You have other guys that are banged up on this roster, like George Kittle is out with a hamstring injury. You have Deebo Samuel out with his calf strain. He's likely not playing Sunday against the Patriots. But things really are just getting really worse. There's already like fans in San Francisco saying, "Tank for Travis Hunter, the star corner or receiver out of Colorado." I wouldn't go there just yet, but it's getting really close. And I just hope that this season doesn't spiral out. Like, if they beat the Patriots, then I will feel better about it. But it's not looking real good right now for the 49ers. With the way Jordan Mason looked great, Brock Purdy looked great, Juwan Jennings looks great. But that defense has a lot of issues. They're really banged up on both sides of the ball. And you just hope that guys can come back soon. And then we can make that run to the Super Bowl. But tough day for the Niners. Of course, Justin Herbert leaving the game against the Steelers with the re-aggravation of an ankle sprain. I think we can all agree. I think most NFL fans will tell you, and analysts will tell you, no Herbert, no chance against the Chiefs. They're not beating the Chiefs with a backup quarterback. The defense is too good, and you have to play Patrick Mahomes. It's too tough, but I mean, it just derails a great start for the LA Chargers. They were 2-0. They were looking great, and then they have that loss against the Steelers. Now they're likely without Herbert on Sunday. He's still pushing to play, but likely will not play on Sunday. So tough news for the Chargers. Hopefully Herbert gets back soon. Then let's get to another injury, but a guy who may be returning. Packers quarterback Jordan Love limited in practice today, coming off an MCL sprain. He's questionable Sunday against Minnesota. Hopefully Love can come back, because Love versus Darnold is going to be a real treat to watch. And I hope that he can come back soon. But tough day. A great day for Malik Willis. They're gonna be fine if it's either Malik Willis or Jordan Love. But really, really great news that Love is close to a return. Let's get to some big games on Sunday. Or should I say, we'll start with the Monday night game. How about Seahawks taking on the Detroit Lions? Some things to watch out for in this game. Can the Seattle offense that has been so reliant on guys like DK and Jackson Smith-Njigba, and that play against a very good secondary in the Detroit Lions? They have been really stingy against the pass all year long. They're top 10 against the pass. And hopefully Kenneth Walker, who had missed the last couple of games with an ankle injury, comes back. And this is really going to be the litmus test for Seattle. If they beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit, the Seattle Seahawks might be for real in that NFC. If they can't, there are going to be a lot of questions on whether that 3-0 start was just, are they really a good team, or were they just beating up on subpar competition? Really looking forward to that Monday night game. It's going to be a great one. Let's get to another game I'm looking forward to. How about the Commanders taking on the Arizona Cardinals? Jaden Daniels coming off his best game of the year. The Cardinals coming off a tough loss to the Detroit Lions. Which one of these two young teams is for real? Can Kyler Murray bounce back and prove why the Cardinals were in the mix? Or is Jaden Daniels going to continue this hot streak? And are the Commanders for real? Is Jaden Daniels that guy? And is this team going to compete for a playoff spot? We will find out. It's going to be a great game. Can the Commanders secondary stop anyone? Because they did, in spite of that win, they gave up 33 points to the Bengals. They gave up over 300 yards to Joe Burrow. A great game from 140 receiving yards from Jamar Chase. So can they slow down? Can they slow down a coming off a clunky game, Kyler Murray, who's going to want to get some revenge after a rough one against the Lions. But that's gonna be a really good one. And can Jayden Daniels hang with this young Cardinals secondary coming off of his best game of his career? How about another big game in the North? Minnesota at Green Bay. Question I have for this big one is, which one of these two teams hot starters for real? Are the Minnesota Vikings a legit team at 3-0? Or are the Packers ready to take back the NFC North from the Lions and the Vikings? It's going to be a tough riddle for either Malik Willis or Jordan Love to crack against this very good Minnesota defense. Sam Darnold is going to have a really tough day going up against a very good Packers secondary. Jair Alexander versus Justin Jefferson is going to be a treat to watch. The best receiver in the league going up against a premier corner. That's one that's going to be a great Aaron Jones playing against his former team for the first time since signing with the Vikings in the offseason. It's going to be a great game. Some really great matchups on Sunday. Hopefully we'll see you guys again next week. I'm trying to do this once a week, but we have to work on my schedule. So thank you guys for your support. Again, like, follow, subscribe on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching the TD Drives podcast. We will see you next time. Peace out.